day. The night I remember most clearly was a November night when Arthur was still with me, 3:17 in the morning, day. I know the exact time because I lay there afterward staring at the bedside clock. After the fourth time getting up that night, too exhausted to fall back asleep, day, too ashamed to cry, Arthur was sleeping beside me, day. The steady rhythm of his breathing filled the dark room, the same rhythm I had fallen asleep to for 58 years. And that night, for the first time in our marriage, day, I felt ashamed to have him sleeping next to me. I had tried not to wake him, had eased myself out of bed, gripped the headboard, felt my way along the wall in the dark, day, and counted steps in the hallway so I wouldn't trip on anything. The fourth time, I sat in the bathroom at 3 in the morning and looked at myself in the mirror, day. An 80-year-old woman, eyes red from too little sleep, white hair loose, day, looking back at herself with an expression I had never seen on my own face before, the expression of someone who is beginning to give up, day. And I thought, if this is what 80 looks like, I'm not sure I want to reach 85. I am 95 years old now, and I am sitting here, day, in the sun-filled kitchen where Arthur and I cooked together for 40 years, recording this video at 7 in the morning after a full night's sleep from 10 p.m. day to 6 a.m. without getting up once. Not once. The small camera in front of me belongs to Oliver, my great-grandson, day. Leo's 14-year-old son, who set it up for me last week and said, "Grandma Hazel, just look at this and talk like you normally would." I asked him, day, talk normally like I'm talking to who? He grinned, to 1,000,000 people, day. So I sat down to talk to 1,000,000 people about 4 simple foods that changed the last 15 years of my life. Things no doctor prescribed, no specialist mentioned, day. Things I figured out myself in this kitchen when I was 80 years old and standing in front of a mirror at 3 in the morning. My name is Hazel, day. Born in 1931 in a small town in rural Tennessee. I have outlived Arthur, my sister Rose, and 3 of my own doctors, and I'm sitting here ready to tell you everything, day. 3 months after that night, I went to see Dr. Miller. Arthur wanted to drive me. I said no, I was 80. I could drive myself, day. The truth was, I didn't want him sitting in that exam room hearing what the doctor was about to say, day. I wasn't ready to become a case in the eyes of the man who had been beside me for 58 years. Dr. Miller was a kind young doctor, genuinely kind. He sat down, day, looked at me with sympathetic eyes, and said the words I still remember precisely. "Mrs. Hazel, this is simply a natural part of aging. Your kidneys are slowing down, day. We call this nocturia, nighttime urination. It's very common at your age." He suggested I stop drinking water after 6 in the evening, day. I drove home gripping the steering wheel, and something rose in my chest, not grief, but anger. The anger of a woman who had survived, raised children, day, buried enough people she loved in 80 years to know that the human body is stronger than what people give it permission to be. Day, it's just aging. The words echoed in my head. No, I refused. My mother always said I came out of the womb already arguing. Day. It turns out that was the most valuable thing she ever gave me. That evening, Arthur was reading the newspaper in the living room, day. I sat down at our kitchen table, The oak table we'd bought together in 1965, the table 3 generations of my family had sat around for meals, and I began to observe. Day. Not reading medical books, not searching for cures, just sitting down and asking myself a question I should have asked long before. In 80 years, Day, what have I actually been feeding this body? The answer was uncomfortable. In recent years, convenience has overtaken habit. Processed foods, Day, more salt than kidneys can bear, Day. Less of the beans and garden vegetables my grandmother had cooked every day in Tennessee. The things I'd grown up eating and never fallen ill from, Day. Kidneys don't fail suddenly. They fail slowly, over decades, from what we eat every day without noticing, and I hadn't been noticing for far too long, Day. The first thing I changed was beans, not because I read somewhere that beans are good for the kidneys, but because I sat in my kitchen and remembered my grandmother, Day, a small Appalachian farm woman who cooked black bean stew every Tuesday, white bean soup every Friday, lentils with vegetables every Sunday. She lived to 97, Day. Gardened until she was 94. Never once got up in the middle of the night, I thought. She knew something I had forgotten, Day. The fiber in beans binds to toxins in your digestive tract before they can enter your bloodstream, before your kidneys even have to get involved, Day. Your kidneys receive fewer orders to process. Over many years, that difference is everything. Arthur sat down to eat the first bowl of black bean stew I made, nodded, Day, and said, "Better than I expected." That is the highest compliment you can receive from a Tennessee man who has eaten beef for 60 years, Day. When Grace brought Maya and Leo over on the weekends, Maya, she was studying nutrition at university then, looked at my pot of beans and said, "Grandma, Day, I can't believe you're eating exactly what the researchers are studying." I told her, "Maya, I don't need researchers. I had my grandmother, Day." Tofu. Maya brought me a block of tofu on one of her visits, set it on my kitchen counter and said, "Try it, Grandma. You'll be surprised, Day." I looked at that tofu the way a woman born in Tennessee in 1931 looks at something she has never touched in her entire life. I said, "Day, do you know what your grandmother grew up eating? Farm chicken, home-raised pork, and cornbread." "Not this," Maya said. "Exactly, Day. And you're also waking up 4 times a night. So maybe it's time to try something new." I had no answer for that, Day. Here is what nobody tells you about animal protein and kidneys. When your body breaks down meat, it produces urea, a waste product your kidneys must filter from your blood, Day. At 30, kidneys handle this easily. When you have eaten primarily animal protein for 60 years, your kidneys are bearing the accumulated cost of decades of overwork, Day. Tofu produces far less urea, the same protein to feed your muscles, but a fraction of the strain. The first time I cooked tofu by myself, pan-fried with onion and ginger, Day, a little soy sauce, I sat down and thought, Maya was right. I didn't say it aloud, but the following week when she called to check on me, I said, "Day." "I cooked the thing you left," she asked. "And," I said, "I'll be buying more." That is how a Tennessee grandmother admits she was wrong, Day. I need to tell you about that morning, about 3 months after I changed how I was eating. Arthur was still with me then. I opened my eyes, Day. The light through the curtains was golden. Morning light, not the dim glow of a lamp at 3 a.m. I lay still and listened to my body. Day. Tried to remember the night before. There was nothing to remember. I had slept from beginning to end. I looked at the clock. 6:12 in the morning. Day. I lay there for several minutes, unable to quite believe it. Beside me, Arthur was still sleeping, that steady 58-year rhythm. I looked at him, and this time, Day. In that morning light, I didn't feel ashamed. I felt grateful. I got up, went to the kitchen, boiled the kettle, Day, and sat by the window watching the sunrise. For the first time in months, not sitting there because I was exhausted after a sleepless night, but because I wanted to, Day, and I wept, not from sadness, from relief so deep that my body didn't know any other way to show it. When Arthur woke at 7, the shuffling slippers, the kettle, Day, the off-key whistling he never could get right. He walked into the kitchen and found me sitting there with a nearly empty cup. He asked, "You're up early," I said, Day. "I slept through the whole night, Arthur." He was quiet for a moment. Then he sat down beside me and we drank tea, looking out at the garden without saying anything more. Day. That was one of the most beautiful mornings of my life. Day. But food is only half the story. The other half cannot be purchased anywhere. Every morning I wake up, I open the window wide before I do anything else. Day. Not because someone told me to, but because 95 years have taught me that a day that begins in darkness, curtains drawn, Day, stale air, is a day your body never fully wakes up into. Then I go to the garden, the small herb garden at the back, mint, basil, Day. A few rows of sunflowers I grow from seed. That is where I begin every day. Standing among the plants in the morning, breathing in the smell of damp soil, Day. Listening to birds I have learned by name over 30 years in this house, and every day I look across the fence, Day. On the other side is Clara's house, the young woman who moved in a few years ago with her husband Marcus and their little boy Toby, Day. I remember when Toby was just learning to crawl, those first unsteady steps across my living room floor, the day he lost his first baby tooth and ran over to show me, Day. Now he asks me the kinds of questions only children think to ask. Why sunflowers follow the sun, whether caterpillars dream, Day. And across the street is Mrs. Gable, 82 years old, widowed, watering her flowers every morning at precisely 7 o'clock, Day. We talk across the fence about our bad backs and the weather and memories from 50 years ago that now only we remember. When you have someone to see every morning, Day, a child to watch growing up, a neighbor to exchange words with, your body knows that today has a reason to happen. And your kidneys, Day, which bear the heaviest damage from chronic stress, are allowed to rest. No pill in the world can do that, Day. Food 3 is the most ordinary thing imaginable. 1 apple every morning, before my coffee, before anything else, Day. Every single morning without exception, including the mornings after Arthur passed, when I sat at this kitchen table alone, Day, and the silence was so complete I could hear the honeymoon clock ticking from the living room. On those mornings, too, I ate my apple, Day, because by then it had become an anchor, a small, reliable act that kept me tethered to the habits of a person who was still living, Day. An apple is one of the rare foods that is sweet and satisfying, and yet low in the three minerals that struggling kidneys fear most: potassium, phosphorus, and sodium. And quercetin in the apple skin fights inflammation quietly every day, because chronic inflammation is what destroys kidneys silently, without pain, without warning. Until one day you're in a doctor's office being told your kidneys are at 40% function. Grace calls it Mom's Apple Therapy. She says it with affection and a little amusement, but she also buys my apples every week without being asked. She has done it for 15 years. The final food is plain yogurt. No flavor, no sugar, just yogurt as it comes. The first time I stood in the supermarket holding a container of plain yogurt, I read the ingredients. Milk, live cultures, that was all. I thought, Hazel, you survived the Second World War. You buried your husband. You raised children through hard years alone. You can eat plain yogurt. I bought it. Went home. Ate it with my morning apple. Within a month, the swelling in my ankles in the afternoons was noticeably reduced. Within 2 months, that heavy, waterlogged feeling in my legs, what Dr. Miller had called fluid retention, was significantly better. The live cultures in yogurt help your digestive system break down waste products before they can enter your bloodstream. Your kidneys receive fewer harmful orders to process. A healthy digestive system is your first line of defense. Your kidneys are the second. When the first line does its job, the second line isn't overwhelmed. I have eaten plain yogurt every morning for 15 years. That simply, that consistently. I need to say this because it matters. 3 years after I began changing how I ate, Arthur passed away. We had been together 62 years. He went on a March morning, peacefully in our bed. That period, those first months after he was gone, was the easiest time I could have let everything go. The kitchen too quiet. No shuffling slippers, no off-key whistling, no one to sit beside me with morning tea. Grace wanted me to come live with her family. Henry and the grandchildren, Maya and Leo, all agreed it was the right thing. But that story and what I learned from it belongs in another video. What I want to say here is, I didn't stop eating my beans, didn't stop my morning apple, didn't stop opening the window and going to the garden, because by then those habits had become something more than health. They had become the anchor that kept me connected to the life I still had, on the days I wasn't sure I wanted to stay. And gradually Clara began bringing Toby over. Mrs. Gable was still watering her flowers across the road each morning. Marcus still came to fix the fence and change burned-out bulbs whenever he was home. Life continued, and I continued living in it. If you are watching this and you are exactly where I once was, 3 in the morning, the 4th time, looking at yourself in a mirror, seeing the face of someone who is beginning to give up, I want you to hear this. Your body wants to heal. It was designed to heal if it is supported the right way. I am not promising that these 4 foods will work miracles for you. I am not a doctor. Please talk to your own doctor about your health. But I am telling you what happened to me in this body over 15 years, and I am sitting at this oak kitchen table at 95 years old, sleeping through the night, day. Living alone in my own home, tending my herb garden, and recording these videos, that is the best evidence I have. Start with beans. Add tofu to your meals. Day. Eat 1 apple every morning. Buy the plain yogurt. Open your window. Look out at the street and notice who's there. Go slowly. Go consistently. Be patient. Day. Oliver, my great-grandson, asked me last week, "Grandma Hazel, what's the message you want to leave?" I thought about it for a moment and said, "Day, tell them I started at 80, and I'm still here. My name is Hazel, born in 1931, and I am not finished. Leave a comment below, your name, where you're watching from, day, and one small thing you'll change this week." I read every one, every morning at this oak table, with my tea. God bless you all.